Before we begin, I want you to pause for one moment and answer something quietly in your heart. Which country are you in right now? Just think about it. Picture your city, your room, the air around you right now. And then ask yourself, what time is it where you are? Look at the clock, really look. Because the time you are hearing this message is not an accident. It is not random. It is not coincidence. You could have been asleep. You could have been busy. You could have been watching something else. But Allah chose this exact moment in your country, at your time, for this message to reach your heart. Why? Because something in your life is happening that you can no longer ignore. Someone's behavior changed. Someone's loyalty shifted. Someone's reality is being shown to you by Allah bit by bit, through their distance, through their silence, through their inconsistency, through the heaviness you feel every time you think of them. And you came here not because you were bored, not because you wanted a video, but because your heart is tired. Something inside you is whispering, Ya Allah, show me what I cannot see. You don't even know why. You clicked at this moment in your part of the world at this exact time, but Allah knows. Allah brought you here. Allah guided your fingertips. Allah aligned the timing. Allah wrote this meeting long before you were born. You are here because what you're feeling is not paranoia. It is not overthinking. It is not weakness. It is a sign that Allah is showing you a truth your heart has been avoiding, a truth you were too loyal to face, a truth you needed to hear at this moment, in this hour, from this message. Stay with me. Don't scroll. Don't rush. Just breathe. Because the next words you hear may explain every confusion your heart has carried for months. By the time you reach the end of this video, you will understand exactly why Allah is exposing someone's reality and exactly why He chose your country and your time for this message to reach you. When Allah removes your blindness, the truth appears even without proof. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah shows you the truth in such a gentle, quiet way that you don't even realize what's happening at first. It doesn't come like lightning. It doesn't come with noise. It doesn't come with drama. It arrives slowly, softly, quietly, like a whisper touching the heart. You start noticing things that you never noticed before. A tone that feels different. A silence that feels heavy. A smile that no longer reaches the eyes. A presence that once calmed you now leaves you uneasy. And you ask yourself, why does this feel different? Why does my heart feel this shift? It is because Allah is removing a veil from your heart. A veil you didn't even know you were wearing. A veil made of loyalty, love, kindness and trust. When that veil lifts, the world doesn't change. You do. Your heart begins to see with a clarity you never had before. Your soul starts picking up signals that your eyes ignored. Your intuition becomes louder, sharper, more awake. You begin to understand the people around you not by what they say, but by how you feel around them. This is the beginning of spiritual awakening. It's not your imagination. It's not overthinking. It's not suspicion. It's Allah guiding your heart toward truth. He begins to show you tiny cracks in a person's character. Cracks you always excused. Cracks you covered. Cracks you blamed yourself for. You start realizing that the heaviness you feel isn't random. It's communication from heaven to your heart. Allah is telling you, my servant, pay attention. Something inside this situation is not good for your soul. You notice how someone talks differently when others are not around. You notice how their behavior changes when they don't need anything from you. You notice how their kindness disappears when it no longer benefits them. You notice how your heart reacts, how it tightens, how it becomes uneasy. This is not weakness. This is protection. Allah is saving you from a pain that would have destroyed you if He let you continue blindly. He allows these subtle signs to reach your heart so that you don't walk deeper into something that will crush you later. Because sometimes your kindness blinds you. Your loyalty blinds you. Your love blinds you. Your hope blinds you. You want to see the good in people. You want to believe their promises. You want to trust their words. You want to ignore the warning signs. But Allah does not want you to be harmed. So He removes the blindness. He makes the truth clearer with every passing day. You start feeling the emotional weight of the relationship. You start feeling the imbalance. You start realizing that you were giving everything while they were giving almost nothing. You start noticing how often you were the one fixing things. the one apologizing, the one trying, the one holding the connection together. And slowly, your heart begins to wake up. Not because you stop caring, but because Allah is lifting you to a place of clarity, a place of self-respect, a place of spiritual protection. And in those moments, it feels painful. It feels like you're losing someone. It feels like everything is falling apart. It feels like your heart is breaking. But in reality, what's breaking is the illusion, not your soul. Allah is breaking the illusion so your soul can heal. Your heart becomes aware of things you used to explain away. You start remembering the times they made you feel small. You start remembering the times they laughed at your pain. You start remembering the times they made you feel like you were too much or not enough. You start realizing that the relationship didn't feel heavy by accident. It felt heavy because your soul was carrying the weight alone. And Allah is telling you, my servant, now you see, now your heart understands. Now you are ready to walk away from what was hurting you without you even knowing. This awakening feels like heartbreak. But in truth, it is the beginning of healing. Your heart becomes clearer while theirs becomes exposed. You may not know how to explain it in words. You may not have evidence. You may not have a story to tell, but your heart knows. And that knowing is enough, because when Allah shows you the truth, no proof is needed. The soul recognizes what the eyes cannot see. And you realize that what you thought was love was actually attachment. What you thought was loyalty was actually fear of being alone. What you thought was connection was actually you holding on long after Allah tried to pull you away. This realization is painful, but it is sacred. It is Allah saying, I have protected you from what you didn't know. I have removed the danger you didn't see. I have ended a story you were not strong enough to walk away from. And once the truth touches your heart, you can never go back to blindness again. Your soul refuses to settle for what once felt normal. Your heart refuses to believe the lies it used to swallow. Your mind refuses to ignore what Allah has already exposed. This is the mercy of Allah. This is the love of Allah. This is the protection of Allah. And this is only the first half. Allah lets masks fall when you refuse to see behind them. Once Allah begins to open your heart to the truth, something inside you changes forever. You start walking through life differently. You feel things more clearly. You notice what you used to overlook. You hear the meaning behind words, not just the words themselves. You begin to see how certain people treated you in ways you didn't deserve, and you realize that you accepted it because you were trying to keep peace, trying to keep love, trying to hold the relationship together with your bare hands. But Allah knew your heart was getting tired. He knew you were breaking inside. He knew you were losing pieces of yourself, trying to hold on to someone who wasn't even holding on to you. So He pulled the curtain back, and when He does that, you cannot unsee what He showed you. You notice how they never cared the way you cared. You notice how they never invested the way you invested. You notice how they never protected you the way you protected them. Allah reveals these truths slowly, so the shock doesn't destroy you, but heals you. You look back at conversations and suddenly understand what you missed before. You look back at their behavior and suddenly see the patterns you ignored. You look back at your own sacrifices and realize how much of yourself you poured into someone who didn't deserve the depths of your heart, and you sit there in silence, finally understanding why Allah made you feel uneasy around them, why He removed your peace in their presence, why He made you pull away even when you didn't know why. It was Him guiding you out of danger before the danger touched your soul. You begin reflecting on the times you felt small, the times you felt unappreciated, the times you cried alone, the times you doubted your own worth because someone couldn't see it, and something inside you whispers, I deserved better than how I was treated. That whisper is not arrogance, it is healing. It is Allah cleaning the wounds you didn't even know you had. You begin to understand that not everyone who smiles at you has a clean heart. Not everyone who speaks kindly has pure intentions. Not everyone who stays close is meant to stay in your story. And Allah helps you separate the true from the false, the sincere from the selfish, the loyal from the temporary. He does not do this to break you. He does it to strengthen you. He removes the people who dimmed your light so He can send people who will protect it. He exposes the ones who were draining your spirit so He can bring those who will nourish it. He ends the chapter that was harming you so He can begin the chapter that will heal you. Sometimes you look at your past self and feel sad for them, for how much they tolerated, for how much they accepted, for how much they tried to fix things alone. But that sadness is also healing. It is Allah showing you how far you've come. You start understanding the reality behind your loneliness. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It was Allah giving you space to see the truth clearly. He removed the noise so you could hear your heart. He removed the crowd so you could see the intentions. He removed the distractions so you could see the lies. And when truth finally settles in your heart, a new kind of peace enters your soul. Not immediately, not without pain, not without tears, but eventually a soft, pure, quiet peace settle inside you. You begin to thank Allah for what once felt like heartbreak. You begin to feel grateful for the separation that once felt confusing. You begin to understand that Allah was not taking something away from you. He was protecting your future. You realize that the truth Allah showed you saved you from years of emotional pain, from deeper wounds, from betrayal you wouldn't have survived, from heartbreak that would have left you spiritually exhausted. You start seeing the wisdom behind the delay, the distance, the silence, the exposure, and your heart whispers, now I understand. Now I see why Allah removed my blindness. Now I see why things needed to fall apart. Now I see why my soul felt uncomfortable. Allah was saving me from something I thought I needed. You begin rebuilding yourself slowly, softly, humbly, this time on truth, not illusion. You feel lighter because your heart isn't carrying a lie anymore. You feel stronger because you're walking with clarity. You feel more awake because your soul isn't asleep anymore. And you realize that clarity is one of the greatest forms of love Allah gives to a believer. He shows you what you needed to see, so you don't spend your life in a place that wasn't meant for you. He frees your heart so it can grow again. He frees your soul so it can rise again. He frees your path so the right people can enter. And in that moment, you finally understand what Allah reveals. He reveals out of mercy. What Allah exposes, He exposes out of protection. What Allah removes, He removes out of love. And the moment your blindness is gone, your life begins again. Your uneasiness around someone is a signal from Allah, not a weakness. As this clarity grows inside you, you start realizing something even more powerful. Not only did Allah open your eyes to people, He opened your eyes to yourself. You start understanding why you tolerated certain behaviors for so long. You start seeing how your heart kept choosing people who were never choosing you. You start noticing the parts of you that kept giving chances to those who didn't even respect the first one. This is not a moment of regret. It is a moment of awakening. You begin to see how many times you apologized just to keep the peace. How many times you stayed silent to avoid hurting someone who had no problem hurting you. How many times you convinced yourself that things would get better if you just loved a little more, tried a little harder, stayed a little longer. But now your heart whispers, you deserve peace too. And this whisper becomes louder every day. You start understanding why your chest felt heavy around certain people, why your laughter wasn't real in their presence, why your soul didn't feel safe sharing your joy or your pain with them. You realize that some people were never meant to hold your emotions because their hands were too weak, or too selfish, or too distracted to carry something as delicate as your heart. Allah knew this, so He removed the blindness before they dropped what you gave them. You start recognizing who you became around certain people. You became smaller, quieter, more uncertain, more afraid of being misunderstood, more worried about being too much or not enough. And as your clarity grows, you see that the version of you in that place was not the real you. It was a survival version. It was the version that adjusted itself just so it wouldn't be abandoned, just so it wouldn't be judged, just so it wouldn't be mocked, just so it wouldn't be rejected. And now you understand why Allah wanted to pull you out. You were slowly losing yourself, trying to keep someone else you begin to understand the hidden wisdom behind every moment of discomfort, behind every tear you cried alone, behind every silent prayer where you asked Allah, why does this feel so heavy? Your heart wasn't weak, your soul wasn't dramatic, your spirit wasn't paranoid. It was Allah's way of guiding you away from a place where your light was dimming. And then something else happens, a miracle inside your chest. You stop blaming yourself. You stop saying, maybe I expected too much. Maybe I gave too much. Maybe I loved too deeply. And instead you say, no, I was sincere, I was loyal, I was genuine, I had the gen. Your sincerity was not the problem. Their capacity was. Your loyalty was not the issue. Their character was. Your softness was not a mistake. Their heart was not prepared for the kind of soul you carry. This is when the healing begins. You start seeing yourself through Allah's mercy instead of through someone's mistreatment. You begin to value the heart Allah gave you. You begin to appreciate the kindness that flowed from you. You begin to thank Allah for protecting a heart as pure as yours from people who didn't know how to hold it. And as you walk through this new clarity, you begin to understand another truth. What Allah removes from you was never meant for you. What Allah reveals to you was always meant to guide you. What Allah lets you feel was always the warning your future needed. Your soul becomes calmer. Your mind becomes clearer. Your chest becomes lighter. You start trusting your intuition again. The intuition Allah placed in you as a compass for your life. You start understanding that some endings were actually beginnings in disguise. Some losses were actually rescues. Some rejections were actually redirections. Some departure were actually protection. And then comes the moment where the awakening reaches its highest level. You stop wishing for the old blind version of yourself to return. Because now you know that blindness would have led you to destruction. Now you know that clarity saved you from emotional collapse. Now you know that if Allah had not removed your blindness, you would have kept giving your heart to someone who saw it as a convenience, not a blessing. And once this realization settles inside you, you begin thanking Allah for every sign you once ignored, for every feeling you once dismissed, for every discomfort you once ran away from. You begin to thank Him for showing you who people truly were behind the smiles, behind the words, behind the promises. And you begin to feel stronger, not because people changed, but because you changed. You grew wiser, you grew calmer, you grew more selective with your heart. You grew more connected to Allah. You grew more protective of your soul. And then something beautiful happens. You no longer need closure from people. You no longer need explanations. You no longer need apologies. You no longer need someone to tell you why things happened the way they did. Because the clarity Allah placed in your heart became the closure. And that clarity is enough. You begin walking with your head high, your heart pure, your soul awake, your mind peaceful. And for the first time in a very long time, you feel safe inside your own chest. You feel home inside yourself. You feel aligned with Allah. You feel guided. You feel protected. Your story is not ending here. Your story is restarting here with clarity, with strength, with spiritual maturity, and with the light Allah placed inside you after removing the blindness you carried for years. And this is the moment your new life truly begins. Allah shows you hidden conversations you were never meant to hear. My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when Allah allows you to witness something you were never supposed to hear, never